Hello, my name is Angela Tuff and I lead the Messy Church at Reigate Methodist. October is one of my favourite months. It feels a little bit cooler. You open the front door and you get that wonderful smell of autumn leaves and maybe a bonfire somewhere. Makes you feel all cosy and lovely. You can see the changing seasons so dramatically, can't you? All the leaves are changing colour. It's stunning, all those oranges and reds and golden things. And because the seasons are changing, it reminds me of harvest. One of my favourite books in the Bible is set in harvest time, and that book is the Book of Ruth. I love the Book of Ruth, but then I am a little bit biased because my middle name is Ruth. She has her very own book of the Bible, and it's one of only 2 books in the Bible that are named after women. Back in the days when these accounts were being written down, women were seen as unimportant or unnecessary to mention. It was almost unheard of for a woman to be referred to, let alone mentioned by name. So Ruth must have made a big impression. She was truly special. So let me tell you a bit about the story. When things go wrong, we all need someone to help us, someone who cares for us, someone we can rely on, someone who is loving and loyal. Ruth was someone like that. For Naomi, Naomi's husband and her 2 sons had died, and she was left with no one to care for her. Ruth had married one of Naomi's sons, and so she too was left on her own with no one. Naomi told Ruth that it was time to say goodbye. "You must go home," she said, "to your own family, and I must go back to where I was born, a land far away called Bethlehem." But Ruth said, "No way! Wherever you go, I go. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God." Naomi was so thankful for Ruth's affection. She had Ruth rely on, someone loving and loyal. Together, Naomi and Ruth left Moab and journeyed back to Naomi's hometown of Bethlehem. They arrived as the barley harvest was beginning. They had no money to buy food, so Ruth went out into the field to glean. And that's where they collect up eaves of barley that the harvesters have dropped or missed. Ruth worked hard all day, gleaning the grain for food. She got hot and sweaty and thirsty, and her back ached. The owner of the field was a chap called Boaz, and he had heard how loving and loyal Ruth had been to Naomi. When he saw Ruth gleaning in his field, he said to her, "May God bless you for your kindness. Help yourself to a drink from the workers' water jars whenever you are thirsty." Boaz gave Ruth some food and even told his workers to leave plenty of barley on the field for her to glean. When Ruth got home, she told Naomi about how kind Boaz had been to her. Naomi smiled for the first time in months. "This man is our closest relative," she said. Naomi thought that Boaz would make a lovely husband for Ruth. He was someone that Ruth could rely on. He was someone who was loving and loyal. And to cut a long story short, Boaz did marry Ruth. And before long they had a baby, much to Naomi's joy and delight. Ruth's baby was called Obed, and he became the grandfather of a great king called David. Now, do you remember King David? He's the chap that wrote and sang all those songs. And King David was the great, lots of greats, grandfather to the greatest king of all, who was also born in Bethlehem. That's right. His name was Jesus. The love and kindness shown by Ruth shone out to Boaz and made him want to show kindness back to Ruth and Naomi. Our kindness truly has an effect on others. Let me show you what I mean.
Okay, so let's see how our kindness can have an effect on other people. So to do this, we need 4 things. You need a vase full of water, or a pint glass, or something like that. You need a raw egg, a spoon, and some salt. If you want to do this with me, pause the video, go and gather the things, and then come back. So Naomi was very, very low. She had had a tragic life. First of all, there was a famine in her homeland where her husband and her 2 sons lived, so they had to travel all the way to Moab. And then her husband died. And then 10 years later, both her sons died too. And Naomi was left with nothing. She had no prospects. She had no hope of marrying again, no hope of having children again. She told her daughter-in-laws that they should just go back home to their family and their home because she had nothing to give them. Naomi could not see how any kind of kindness could improve her life. Ruth had other ideas. Ruth was determined to show Naomi kindness. And so the salt is going to represent kindness. When people are mean to you, when they say nasty things, they can be really ugly towards you sometimes. Or they can have really sad things happen in their life. Pour kindness into their lives. Be gentle. Say good words. And your kindness can overcome all that tragedy, all that sadness and hurt and anger. Naomi could not see how her life could possibly improve, and she really did think that God had turned his hand against her. But still Ruth would not leave her. Still she poured her kindness on her. I will go where you go. I will stay where you stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Ruth's kindness showed Naomi that she was loving and loyal. Now the salt, you probably can't see it at the moment, but the salt is changing the water's molecules, and it's making the water denser than the egg. So I wonder what might happen. All that kindness that Ruth and Boaz showed Naomi over and over again, eventually Naomi's spirits rose, and she could see that God had provided. God had given her a new home, a new family. And she made peace with God and praised him for the life that she now had. You and I can show kindness to people too, even if they say horrible things, even if they do mean things to us. If someone's sad, pour kindness into their lives, and they will see something very special in you. And they will see that Jesus is working through you to bring his love to the world. And maybe they might think that they would like to do that as well. How amazing would that be? So, make sure you pour your kindness into other people's lives this week.
Ruth is such a beautiful book, and I really urge you to sit down and read it through. It's a short read. It should only take you about 15 minutes, I should think. I thought about this book because the events happen during harvest time, which is what we're celebrating at the moment. Ruth is gathering the leftover barley that the men bringing in the harvest have missed or dropped. Boaz sees Ruth doing this and is touched by her need to provide and look after her mother-in-law. So much so that he gets the men to drop and leave more bits of barley on purpose, just so Ruth can have more. Harvest is a time to thank God for the food that he provides. God is someone that we can rely on. He is loving and loyal to Ruth, Naomi and Boaz. He's made them a part of his great plan to send his son, Jesus, to be our saviour and our friend, someone we can rely on, someone who is loving and loyal to us. As I read more about Ruth, I remembered just how amazing the story is. So before we go into our harvest craft, I want to tell you more about the other things that Ruth and her experiences can teach us. I came across an interesting blog by Jo Burgess. She has a degree from a Wesleyan college in Ohio. She did her intern mission in Ghana. She's a widow, a special needs mother, and she's now writing a couple of faith books, one for widows and one for special needs parents. And I really liked her view of what Ruth could teach us. As you read through the Book of Ruth, you won't find any places where God's voice thunders down to her as you might in other Bible stories. There's no earth-shattering miracles like the Red Sea parting. Nothing like that happens in her life. What you do see is an ordinary and challenging life, shaped by faith and guided by God. And today we can look back and see the mighty way that he used her life. Few saw Ruth as an important person. Ruth's story is ordinary. Perhaps that's why it makes it so fascinating. She doesn't come from a famous family. She doesn't have great riches or great position. She isn't a Jew. Ruth is just a widow, one from Moab at that, an enemy nation despised by many. Nothing is going in her favour, but she is brave. Her love and loyalty never wavers. Yet the life of this ordinary foreign widow who has nothing is seen by God as so important that his plan for her life ends up with her becoming a part of the family of Jesus, as the grandmother to King David, as the great, lots of times grandmother of Jesus. God's plans typically involve using people who are considered to be underdogs or unimportant or unimpressive. And that is certainly illustrated with the story of Ruth. So what can we learn from this amazing, truly special woman? Well, here are 3 powerful points that stood out for me. The first one is that there is hope even in the most distressing times of our life. When life brings the hardest things to face, it's not easy to hope. Naomi lost her husband and her 2 sons. Ruth lost her husband. For you, it might be finding school really hard at the moment, or the thought of facing another wave of COVID-19 restrictions might be making you feel anxious. Your job might be uncertain and you're worried about how you're going to provide for your family. When these situations happen, it's hard to have faith. But when life feels like it's crushing you, start with a little faith. Looking at the Book of Ruth, we can see that even when we can't see beyond our pain to his plan, we can have hope that our story isn't over yet. Better days are coming. The second point is that the past is not our final destination when God is involved. Ruth's home country made her already an outcast, and being a childless widow gave her plenty of reasons to shrink back into a shell and simply live her life in obscurity, hiding away in loneliness. That's not what she did. She chose to go with Naomi, to be loving and loyal. She chose to serve the God of Naomi, and she believed that there was still life left for her to live. She refused to let her past hold her back. No matter your past, you still have a purpose. Your past is not your final destination when you make a choice of faith. While your confidence may be wavering, God's promises never do. And the final point that stands out for me is that sharing openly about our relationship with God brings us closer together. Naomi and Ruth's relationship offers a beautiful model of a good relationship. It was their faith that was at the centre of their relationship and closeness. Through Naomi, Ruth learned about God and chose to put her trust in him. Naomi's ability to be open and honest with Ruth about her relationship with God, I think, is inspiring. We often feel that we need to keep our questions and thoughts about God to ourselves. We don't usually share our unedited feelings or thoughts about God with friends or family members. Sometimes we're afraid that sharing our questions and our doubts and our disappointments about God will turn people away from us or turn them away from God. When actually sharing about our relationship with God openly, being honest, can bring us closer together and help draw others closer to God. Naomi was open with Ruth about the joy, the fear, the pain, the anguish that came with her faith in God. She admitted that she felt that God had treated her severely, and yet it was that sharing and openness that was the foundation of the deep love and loyalty that these two women had. So what does all this mean? Well, I think it means that God is someone that we can rely on. We can rely on him to provide our food at harvest time. We are thankful for what he provides. We can rely on God to give us hope in times of distress, that better days are coming. We can rely on God to provide us with a future full of purpose, that he will always forgive our past, so that our past does not define us. We can rely on God to understand our doubts, our questions. Nothing shocks God. We can ask our questions knowing that we can be assured of his heart being towards us and his ears open to our prayers. As he showed Ruth and Naomi, God is someone who is loving and loyal and someone that we can rely on always. So with those thoughts running through our minds, let's go and do some craft.
So the first thing we're going to make this month is a bird feeder. So you're going to need a pipe cleaner and some breakfast cereal with some hoops. Be good, and we'll see if we can make the other things work as well. And all you need to do is thread the hoops onto the pipe cleaner. Maybe you can wind some of the star things around as well. And then you just twist them together, and then you can go and hang it on a branch in your garden and see if the birds come and see that and feed from that. So now we're going to make a picture out of kind of seeds and pasta and lentils and all of these groovy things. You can see them. So first of all, you need a bit of stiff paper or cardboard, and I've drawn a very vague picture on it. So here's my hills, this is going to be a river, there's a tree, and there's the sun. So need some glue, spread it all over. Do one bit at a time. So I'm going to do the field first. Get your spatula and spread the glue around, and then the seeds will stick. And just build your picture up as you go along. There we go. So that's our craft done for this month. So just remember, our past doesn't define us if we trust in God. There is always hope in the most devastating times of our lives. And if we pour kindness into other people's lives, we can raise them up so they too can experience the love and joy of Jesus. See you all next month. Bye bye.